This one's 34 minutes. Wait, this one's kind of like a fucking fat one. And it's already 1:30. We can let it ride. Fuck it.
Welcome to Worlds Online, the internet's first 3D virtual world platform.
Woohoo! 3D, that's crazy. We can fucking smell and go wild in here.
Shared virtual space, online users can shop, watch movies, listen to music, play games, and collaborate with each other. Today's web user is looking
Tom
for
Brady?
an intimate connection with friends, with celebrities, and with trending brands that reflect their values and lifestyle in both the real world and the virtual.
Throughout the mid-2010s, an urban legend would surface about a mysterious MMO by the name of Worlds.com.
Thanks to Resub Chippewa and the Tier 1
Having
cuddles.
been launched to the public in the mid-1990s, the game was believed by many to be dead, discontinued, and lost to the inevitable void of internet history.
Where?
Unbeknownst to most,
How do
this
people even
couldn't
find
be further
that?
from the truth, as Worlds.com was very much still running. But there was a catch. Venturing into the game today presents you with
This looks
barren
cool.
wasteland of nothingness, a relic that
What
was
the
once
fuck?
bustling with life, and
You
a
get to
deserted
play as a
memory
duck or a
that's
penguin?
clinging to life supports. The game, expectedly, is completely empty. You see, rumor had it that Worlds.com was hiding something, a shrouded purpose that's been kept from the public. Rumors involving in-game cults, doxing, graphic imagery, and virtual stalking had led curious minds to hesitantly venture into Worlds themselves in hopes of finding out if these allegations were true.
What the fuck? That's nuts!
So back.
Alright.
This is the story of Worlds.com.
Alright, I'm super invested in this now. Is it a cool cult? Did they do cool things like give out candy on holidays and stuff? Or one of those bad ones like the Manson shit?
An aside. The 1990s were a magical time in the world of entertainment and the advancement of society. Being what I can only describe as the calm before the imminent mid-2000s technological storm, we were living in an era that brought us some unforgettable treasures in the realms of video gaming, movies,
Yeah,
and television.
blockbuster, classic, fuck
In the
yeah.
gaming world, for instance, new and unforgettable IPs such as Mario Kart,
Yeah, agreed, Soul Eater.
Banjo-Kazooie, Fallout, Resident Evil, and Silent Hill were born. And with these came game consoles that have stood the test of time in bringing us unforgettable experiences such as the Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, and the Dreamcast.
God, the Dreamcast was so good, the most underrated console in history, Power Stone. We need a third Power Stone, please. So good. Sugoi! Fuck, it was so good.
In August of
True cuddles.
1995, Microsoft would release a revolutionary competitor to the Netscape Navigator, the pre-existing OG of internet browsing, called the Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
If you were lucky enough to get your hands on a PC in this era, then, combined with the tools at your disposal in Windows 95, you were able to venture into the vast, wild west of an enigma known as the World Wide Web.
God, the internet back then was so wild and
In today's
wacky.
culture, things have changed.
I'll never forget when I was
Social media,
horny and typed in
discussion
like
boards, and
boobies
websites in
and went to a
general
site that
have
had a
become
demon on it.
sterilized,
Haunted.
being pushed to the brink of minimalism and moderation. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of the magic and charm that existed in the wacky and terribly designed UIs of the past are largely gone, replaced by logos containing simple shapes, any shred of creative color being replaced by whites, and all-encompassing oversimplification of pretty much everything. As you've heard in my incessant rambling so far, the era was magical, and a lot of newfound creative mediums were on the rise. While video gaming via a conventional console was the primary method of escaping into a mystic world, the rise of the internet paved the path for a new form of interactive storytelling and interconnected social experiences.
Gaming.
And those were a little something
For
we now know
gamers.
as MMOs,
Oh,
or massive
Kinda.
multiplayer online video games.
I'm really sorry to hear that, bro. Wishing you the best moving forward. It's awful.
Of the many websites that were available to early adopters of the internet, one would be launched in April of 1995.
I'm sorry, I didn't see
by the
that,
name of
dog.
Worlds.com.
My bad, man.
The website was created by a
Thank
company
you.
simply named Worlds Inc. and housed a public 3D chat room that players could enter and explore to their heart's content. According to the website, The minimum configuration is a 90 MHz or faster processor with 32 megabytes of memory. The recommended platform is a Pentium class processor.
Okay, real quick, is it just me, or on his voice, is there like a really low voice layered into it? Is it just my headphones, or am I hearing like a fucking MMO demon in there? Yeah? Okay, cool. So it's not just me. I didn't know if my headphones were dying, or if Satan was communicating through Lil Nas's music and infiltrating or something like that. Fucking weirding me out. No one else mentioned it in the chat.
David Bowie, Steven Spielberg, and a digital artist by the name of Tamiko Thiel. The latter two actually teamed up at one point and created an in-game environment called the Starbright World, which was aimed at giving seriously ill children an outlet to interact. The gameplay is mostly what you'd expect from something out of the mid-1990s. At the outset of registering your profile, players are given the opportunity to choose between various avatars to represent themselves in-game. Among them are a human, a penguin, a monster, a kangaroo, and a clown.
Good selections.
Advertising
Not
on
bad.
websites are various realms.
Oh, and you can be on the Yankees?
Explore at your leisure. Among the hundreds that you're able to choose from, a few notable ones include worlds themed around David Bowie, the New York Yankees, the band Hanson, the Sky, an Animal House, and a Fun House.
Thanks to resub.
Venturing out into worlds for the first time,
Spionix?
you're thrown into a central hub with other players from around the world. The various themed environments that we mentioned prior are accessible through tunnels and doors that are next to their labels, and entering these immediately loads whichever one you so choose.
Pretty innovative for its
Like
time, to
any
be
3D
fair.
PC game is achieved using your keyboard and mouse, and also available to you is a chat box
Thanks to
allowing you
Prime.
to communicate to
Again,
others
Grinna.
in real time. Now this seems like nothing out of the ordinary. Along with the primitive graphics, the game is pretty substandard today. At the time though, this was absolutely groundbreaking, and PC owners flooded this thing, giving it a burst of life that would deem Worlds.com a massive success.
Fuck yeah.
The mid-2000s brought with it the inevitable desertion of the Worlds.com user base as players moved on to bigger and better ventures. Second Life, RuneScape, Toontown, VMK, MyCoke,
Habbo
and
Hotel.
Habbo
Yeah, I knew it
were
was
becoming
coming.
viable alternatives that not only looked better, but gave players more to do with their own distinct charm. You may have noticed that most of the names
Soon,
that just read
Rotok.
off are now defunct. The Toontown, VMK, and MyCoke live support plugs were pulled as their developers encountered an existential problem that was prevalent from the start. They couldn't find a way to monetize them. Combined with this, the fact that these games were all run with the help of moderation teams and ongoing servers, it became evident that as long as these virtual worlds were online, whoever it was that was running them was losing money. At this point, you'd expect Worlds Inc. to pull the plug. With a dwindling user base and aging game mechanics, it seemed like this was the only sensible way to go.
Oh, giant
Either
spider, watch
cut
out, holy
losses
shit!
Or release something new and optimized for the next generation of online gaming. But they didn't.
Damn, this place is popping off
As
in
a matter
there.
of fact, Worlds.com is still downloadable and accessible to this day, and stands as an uncanny and deserted relic of the past.
This is cool.
Rumor has it that the game's creator,
I wanna play.
Tom Kidron, is simply fronting the server costs himself and running it out of his own home.
Good
That
man.
begs the question,
Thanks.
why on earth would an individual be fronting the costs to keep a dead video game alive? What part of this
He's got a
abandoned
virtual
landscape
girlfriend with
is
big
so
titties.
pivotal that it's still in existence over 20 years later?
This looks so cool, look at this.
In the short span of time that I've been here, it suddenly dawned on me that I'm visibly the new guy. Everyone here seems to know it.
Uh-oh.
I'm not a regular.
They think he's a cop. They think he's the feds.
Uncomfortable. Down the rabbit hole.
Run, get out of there! Engage, no clip. Yeah, someone is still running the servers, he just said that.
Rumors began to spread about the game thanks to certain anons from 4chan's VNX boards. Allegedly, there existed potentially illegal and cult-like behavior from the game's handful of players during that time period. As you'd expect, upon catching wind of this, the rest of 4chan did what they do and went in to investigate. Before we continue, I wanted to make something explicitly clear. In my hunting, it dawned on me that these allegations surfaced at a point in time that predated the year 2012. I say this because the oldest records that I've been able to dig up are from that year. Unfortunately, most of the archives, images, and audio files that we're going to get into have been lost to time.
What?
However, there are some that allow us to piece together a cohesive storyline as to what actually went on in Worlds.com. So let's talk about the game itself. A major element at the game's core was the ability for users to create and host their own customized universes.
Wait, I'm confused. What does he say? So everything here,
Shaper.
2012? What?
Much like Minecraft, if someone chose to do so, they could create their own server, build what they want, and invite certain players through a downloadable file that's accessible through Shaper.
Everything dated before 2012 are lost.
Effectively,
Okay.
the possibilities were endless, and harnessing the creative freedom that they were given, players were able to create some admittedly impressive worlds. Now that it's died down, though, things have become a bit darker. A bit more controversial.
I'm not sure about
so
Second
to
Life
speak.
having a cult.
While there are groups of people that are or might be strange in their own right, there are two that have starkly stood out to me as the most mysterious. Two users, a Jimbly and a Nexialist. Interestingly, both have crossed paths in the game. However, their stories couldn't be further apart. Contrary to Nexialist, the stories surrounding Jimbly seemed a bit more grounded in reality. But we'll get to it.
So what are this? Are those like the two raid bosses or something in here? The two different big groups?
First, I'd like to introduce you to Nexialist. According to an early 2012 blog by the name of ForgottenWorlds.com, the profile piece on him states the following. Nexialist is a regular at Worlds.com that has been trying to pull in the V and X boards to play this game. Nexialist is a successful user that's been able to get a cult following in the game, which is hard to do. He constantly reaches out to dedicated players to join him, as he seems to be called the key bearer.
Key bearer.
Around the game
Okay.
without chatting. This isn't even close to covering entirely who this guy is rumored to be, so allow me to pick up where they left off. According to 4chan and various message boards, Nexialist is abstruse, a shred of indecipherable mystery that's lurked Worlds.com for what some believe to be as long as the early 2000s. Encountering him
This is wacky.
and it's been rumored that you don't actually find him, he finds you. Upon discovering you, he'll approach you without words, standing as what appears to be a lifeless corpse as you begin to quietly panic at his disturbing avatar. After the initial shock dies down, you're told to follow him, and as a result, you embark on a journey through hellish customized corridors that bear satanic symbolism and graphic imagery.
Who is this guy? Can we get an update on the guy playing Professor Utonium? Where does he fit into this grand scheme?
After your tour, Nexialist will begin sending you disturbing audio files that I wasn't able to find archives for. But if we go by descriptions from 4chaners, it's safe to assume that these sound like the distorted deaths of dying animals. Once you're scared to your wits' end and you leave the game, he already knows that you're going to go to 4chan to talk about it, because that's what he wants you to do. Spread the word, get people talking, and the next sucker that grows a sliver of curiosity and decides to check it out is his next victim. Unfortunately, this all reads like an urban legend. People have been able to capture screenshots and video of Nexialist over the years, but not much, aside from very few outliers, have been found that outlines what I'm describing. Because of that, I'd like to put a pin in this arcane figure and circle back on him later. Because
This is the game Vinesauce played,
I'd
Vinny?
like to bring you into.
Is it? Someone I saw on one of those threads. And he didn't encounter Nexialist?
The Hidden Worlds website that I mentioned earlier serves as a diary of the experiences that a man named
Hey,
George
thank you,
Costanza
Deathstorm.
had witnessed when he first played Worlds. According to his blog, he found a bizarre network that this Jimbly guy seems to be running, and the entries on his website outline a considerable amount of information that I'd like to dive into and unpack. The very first post on the website was made on January 5th, 2012. It reads as follows. Well, I started playing this game called Worlds.com Seemed innocent, but according to V, it has some fucked up things from the past. Everything's forgotten here, and in a group we explored the game. In the coming days, we'll share our stories and pictures here. Further on that day, another post was made outlining Jimbly's supposed network and its inner workings. The game started as
Interesting, Soul Eater.
We had gags while we explored the worlds, skeletons popping out, and finding Pegasus. Things a person could expect from playing Roblox or other games where your creations are welcome. But things turned bizarre. Our friend Grad, as we called him, was showing us these rooms that I mentioned, and eventually we ended up in a lobby filled with brown doors with text on them. These doors had the creator's name and a description of the level or world. This guy, Bilbo99, had messed up levels with Easter eggs everywhere, and we praised him for his creepiness.
Hey,
This
Jimbly!
map was Jimbly's creation.
Fuck yeah,
It was
look at
a town
him.
filled with
He's having
shops
fun.
like Starbucks. However, things would take a turn. You see, there was a person that contacted me named Megalic. Her or his avatar
Thanks,
was
Resub Krabs.
a bird or an angel. She claimed that she was new in the world, as I was, but she'd been playing this game for a week and already gotten dirty and knew what this shit was really about. To act new is a common trick to bait new players. Anyway, Jimbly had a network that was serious. How serious? To enter his network,
Whoa!
you need to provide mugshots. For example, here's Bilbo99. There were a total
Hey,
of 3
Bilbo.
rooms filled with different mugshots of users, but room 2 was dedicated to Jimbly.
Hold on. Let me go to the bathroom real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry to blue ball you. Right, I'm fucking back. Ended up taking a shit. Jump scared myself with my own fart. Pretty wild series of events. Let's go.
So we scavenged for Megalic and found this.
Well, I can't do that right now,
Slowly
Radis.
pictures
You're
of
gonna have to
users that I'll include.
ask a mod.
But one thing I found that was standing out was a user named Kelikar. She was in the porn gallery, and I compiled this. It seems like someone has stalked her, and the rooms were labeled Kelicat. This user must have been a fat cat in the network. As you can see, Kelikat's written there, so what Jimbly does now is retrieving nude pictures of regulars that are still left. Megalic was the proof that we needed, since she'd only been playing for a week tops.
Wow. Jesus, Jimbly.
Below this, George displays the various screen caps that he was able to take of the various mugshots of different users. Of the bunch, he was even able to grab a few of Jimbly himself. Intrigued by this atypical finding, he decided that him and his group of friends wanted to investigate a bit on their new friend.
I don't think I've
Megalic.
seen that, Cumgar.
As it turns out, there was a bit more going on with them than they initially thought. And yet another post from the same day, titled Megalic, a man or a woman, he describes the following. Megalic's nudes that could be found in the other post seemed too good to be true. Her head was cropped out and with the body of a young woman, while her mugshot shows an older woman in her 40s, and that picture's really old. What does that leave us with? She could have faked them because she doesn't want
So
to
how
show
is this a
her
cult?
body.
I'm a little
Could be
confused.
a man playing as a female.
Seems like a
Doesn't have to
Reddit
be a
mod
cult.
using his
After
power to
that,
get
we discovered her
pictures.
real email, although it's linked to a man by the name of John. So yes, Megalic might be or is the man posing as a fragile woman while baiting for pictures. Those pictures up there, except for his profile picture, is a year old. The pictures are from 2009, and then he used a picture of his wife to verify himself, and thought how cool it would be to send a fake picture of a pair of tits to make him look like a god in a game.
Okay. Classic
As we're beginning to see,
John, I
Jimbly's
guess.
network encompasses some extremely odd people. People that are impersonating others and using real-world mugshots to gain access to whatever it is that he's running. In a third post I'd like to focus on, titled Jimbly's Inner Circle,
Oh, sweet. Well, thank you,
George
Spooky.
proceeds to explain the following. The last post was about this weird map, about a man going by the name Jimbly that was trying to get naked pictures from regulars, or old players that were still active. So we stalked him. He hung out at a beach, but once we arrived, they'd all scatter and disappear. Thankfully, though, the friend tool and a built-in avatar tool could let us teleport to them while they were
Wow, good shit.
but that was for later. Meanwhile, we scavenged the net for Jimbly. We found his website, jimblyworlds.com.
Whoa,
and moist
Jimbly.
pictures, jimblyworlds.com/pics, only to show a black screen with red typed text that said darkness.
Pretty cool
George
website.
reveals publicly accessible information about Jimbly, including an email address, before closing his post with the revelation that also, Jimbly's into traps. This can be found in his porn gallery. With this in the back of our mind, you know I couldn't just let this go. I had to get in. I had to find out if this was real.
There's no way it'd still be
I
up.
emailed Jimbly and began my hunt.
What would it be, 7 years later?
Jeremy Erickson. I start a message and write the following. Good evening, Jimbly. I've recently started playing Worlds and was interested in joining your in-game network to congregate with yourself and other players. Upon consulting with a few anons from X, I was told to reach out. I've downloaded a few worlds from your website and am currently trying to get them working. Just let me know what I need to do when I'm in. Thanks, Jeremy.
This really doesn't seem like a cult though, it's just a weird community.
So
Maybe it
it's been a
gets
few
culty
days.
now.
After a trek through Worlds, a lack of a response, and dwindling time to wait, it's beginning to seem like Jimbly either isn't currently active or simply doesn't play this anymore. I'm not entirely sure if Jimbly's the kind of guy that would have a sudden change of heart, but if you ask me, it is a bit recent. Anyway, with that under our belt, unfortunately, heading back to the blog reveals that most of the other threads outline mundane discoveries while exploring various official and user-crafted worlds. A few notable highlights include some of Jimbly's bizarre creations.
Hey,
but
that's
not much, other than
Banger
that,
Sisters, I
even
think?
remotely relevant to our investigation.
Saw that movie a long time ago.
Even so, the discoveries surrounding Gem are nothing short of unnerving. So what's actually going on here?
So far, I haven't really seen anything too wild here. I was expecting something
Over the
fucking
years,
crazy.
The primary consensus
In fact,
surrounding
I
Worlds,
don't even know what
primarily
we've
due to
learned other
Nexialist,
than
was that it's a front.
these people
for some
play an
sort
old
of
game and are
satanic
kind of
cult.
weird.
Rumors are powerful things. I won't deny that, but there are a few points here that I'd like to unpack. Contrary to Nexialist, Jimbly surprisingly hasn't generated much buzz online. This bizarre, cult-like network that he seems to have created
How is it cult-like, though?
effectively cements him as somewhat of a wild card in my theorization. What this guy is doing is weird. From the mugshots to the vast database of supposed network members to his secret repository of graphic imagery, it seems like he is the one actually running the rumored cult. While it doesn't deal with Satanism and death like the urban legends claimed, this guy is, whether he knows it or not, effectively catalyzing a situation in which people run the risk of being doxxed. It took George not even one full day to piece together the real identity of the wife and man behind the Megalic mugshots, and it's unclear how many other selfies that he has stashed away in the world that he's, according to the blog, been building since 2005. To be frank, aside from the lack of a response, I wasn't able to find much else surrounding this guy, and it's safe to assume that there are others like him. A game
I'm not
that's
sure,
largely
Road Talk.
abandoned, aside from a few key players, is surely something that would catch the eye of somebody trying to run some sort of network under the radar. With that being said, I encourage you to make your own conclusions about him. With the
Wait, is that
evidence
it?
at hand, it does appear that at one point in time, there was something going on behind the scenes. Whether or not it still is, or if the mysterious Jimbly is still active, remains to be seen. While I haven't been able to track him down, maybe you can. That brings us to another point of discussion. Nexialist. You might recall that I mentioned the fact that users are able to create their own worlds. This was actually a pivotal mechanic in the game and gave players an extra layer of interactivity. In one post on Reddit by a user named Goomilord, they claimed that they even encountered Nex and that he's merely a normal guy. Apparently, he switched his avatar to Sanic at one point and began spamming the words, "There is no cult on worlds.com" in the chat.
So he's just an
Take it for what
RPer.
you will.
Like, the guy just fucking
I believe
RPs.
it. Well, let's think about this logically.
And Ernie.
Worlds is, at its core, creepy in and of itself. The barren environments, combined with the uncanny primitive textures, naturally gives any unsuspecting players a sense of uneasiness, especially if you've caught wind of the various allegations surrounding Nex's mysterious character. To
That's
me,
pretty
I
cool.
believe that he's playing along, leading players to the belief that he's some sort of cult mastermind as a long-running joke. In my opinion, he was capitalizing on it for a bit of fun.
Yeah,
His avatar is
obviously, for sure.
nightmarish, he comes off strangely when he wants to, and he executes this with a group of willing friends. The same friends that we see in the so-called cult screenshots that were captured in-game. A weird hobby, but to each their own. I'm not judging.
So there was nothing.
Now, with all of that out of the way, there's still one glaring question that remains. Why does World still exist?
That's the only really weird thing about it. Like, there's no point to keep it running. That's like the only odd thing. Like, Jimbly asking for pictures of people is the sign of a lonely person wanting to make sure, like, you know, this is a person, and I'm talking to a person. That's what it strikes me as. And the porn stuff is him taking fucking Google
Allow me to
images.
redirect your attention to the game's owner. Tom Kidron, in his many years as the world's owner, has become somewhat known
Thanks for
as
5
something
goose subs,
called a
Lotoplex. Thank you,
patent
man.
troll. Patent trolls
Appreciate it,
essentially
man.
purchase many different elements and ideas of a particular product and squat on them for years, filing lawsuits against anyone that violates them. The reason that these people are called patent trolls mainly rests on the fact that the ones they purchase are typically what they perceive to be a sought-after and core element of a particular product. In this case, Kidron's been squatting on patent number 7,181,690,
Classic
which is
patent.
titled System and Method for Enabling Users to Interact in a Virtual Space. This was filed on August 3rd, 2000, with further detail. Executes a
Yeah, he probably
process
sues
to
everyone
view
that
a
makes one
virtual
of these
world
kind of games.
from the perspective of that user. Sounds broad, doesn't it? That was on purpose, and he's used it. Even as of this year, there are articles all over Google explaining legal cases that Worlds Inc. has filed
World
against
vs.
companies
Bungie?
and IPs such as Second Life, Blizzard, Bungie, and more. And according to a Vice article from 2015,
They ever won?
Kidron rakes in a whopping $200,000 a year from his court proceedings. This
No way.
effectively explains away the server cost. When not many, if any players play your game at all, the result of this is cheap upkeep, low bandwidth, low server costs. Ergo, he's raking in cash with a positive net income. In the US, the typical patent lifespan is 20 years, so at the time of writing this, we have just short of 9 months before Kidron would either have to renew or simply let it expire. As a result of
I'm
this,
sure he renewed.
if he so chooses, he could let it run its course and retire from his relentless court proceedings. If he does, I wouldn't be surprised if the world's game goes down with it, effectively and permanently leaving this artifact of a game to die.
Someone do it for me. Did he renew it or did... Well, I already know he fucking renewed it.
So, all in all, as it turns out, Jimbly is the real enigma here. The custom worlds that he, and potentially others, have created are an indisputable testament to the underbelly of this archaic MMO. Today, it's unclear whether he's still active in the game or not.
Oh,
Even so,
this is a huge
the inner
tier
mechanisms
3.
of this fabled network are something
Rates
that perplexes
2?
me, as I see no end goal
Thank you.
other than to hoard a repository of
Appreciate the
images
huge
for
tier
his own
3.
enjoyment. Why he chose Worlds.com to do it is and will forever remain beyond me. Regardless, Worlds, whether still online by nefarious reasons or not, stands as somewhat of a time capsule to the primitive era of social gaming. Today, with the official non-custom Worlds, it stands as a corpse of the past, a window into what once was, and a sliver of mystical nostalgia, sending us back into a time when we all first discovered the world of the internet.
Very cute.
As far as we know, servers are, to this day, willingly being kept alive. Alongside this, the inevitable date that the game permanently goes offline is unclear, so if you're eager to experience this curiosity of old, then you better get on it soon. Stay in the official servers, and you'll be fine.
Oh, so this is not the
Solid.
game Vinny played.
Bask in
I
the
looked when I was
glowing
shitting. He played
aesthetic.
Active Worlds.
Otherwise, you'll run the risk of missing the nostalgic boat, leaving it to sail away, and for us to watch it go.
Yeah, so I feel like that was a bit off. Literally nothing cultish about that. You have a guy who's RPing, and you even mentioned that it's literally RPing, not really cultish. Jimbly, I think, is easily explained because it's clearly a lonely guy, and he asks for the pictures of anyone that plays and wants to be his friend. Not the most uncommon thing in the world. And the porn shit was just stock images, right? So it's not like I don't know where the cult was. Weird to keep playing the game, and I think the RP is good from that guy. But yeah, definitely nothing wild in there. Interesting though, still interesting and cool to see it. But yeah, I was expecting something like actually nefarious. Like something actually pretty weird. I tried my first turd. It was alright. You ate your own shit for the first time? Congrats, man. Hope you enjoyed it, I guess. Extraordinary until proven otherwise. This? Oh, it's a Lamino video. We haven't seen this one. This one looks more historical. Probably not tonight though, it's already late. I think we'll just save that for the next one. Worlds sued Minecraft a few months ago. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Thanks to the resub, Arizin. Oh, you're finishing up 3 songs at the moment. It should drop within the next couple months. We're gonna try and do all 3 videos around the same time and then just release them spaced out. I just don't really like Local 58, man. It's just like stories, but with no visuals. It's just text. Just reading a creepy pasta. Why don't you sell your songs? I prefer doing a video for each one. We're doing an album, which will sell. And like a full vinyl and art book. That'll have... I'll give you more info on that when it comes around. Yep, we have 3 in production right now. The one that is going to come out first is probably going to be Your Boyfriend Doesn't Scare Me. Thanks to the bits, Loat. Appreciate it, man. This is an ARG. Yeah, all of Local 58's content is kind of like an ARG, man. Okay. I think I'm just gonna call it a night. Oh. You gonna build on the concept of Skynet? I don't think so. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Not for the album or anything, though. Have you ever heard of Club Never Die? Virtual club from an MMO RPG that was sold for 600k from the game called Entropia Universe. No, I don't know what the fuck that is. Oh, that's sweet. Well, thank you, Big T's. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. To everybody who donated, big thank you. New subs, welcome aboard. Sub means a lot to me, so thank you for subbing. I really appreciate the generosity. And I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful evening. Let's see who's streaming. Who was the most recent raid I've tossed you to? I think we did Kid Emotions last, yeah. No, I'm not raiding Ludwig. He's gonna be done with this stream soon. Oh, yeah, I think Ken was the most recent. Oh, we haven't gone to Steve in a really long time. I'll toss you to Steve. He's playing Monster Hunter. Hold on. Yeah, it's been a long time since I tossed you over to Steve. Alright, everyone, have a great night, and thanks again. Take it easy, everyone. See ya.